Well, good evening, everybody, and I hope all of you are having a wonderful Wednesday. So far, this is your favorite talk show host, Antoine Cunningham, and I'm on live today with my friend, my sister, Joelle Dawkins. And we're about to talk to some wonderful people, some experts, I would say, in the financial area. And they're going to be giving us some tips on financial literacy and just telling us exactly about their company and who they are. But I just want to encourage everybody that's watching already on YouTube and Facebook to begin to share the link with your family and friends. And we will be starting momentarily. Joelle, are you excited? Can't hear you.
You're muted, Joulle.
I'm having a whole conversation by myself. I am excited. Clearly, I'm too excited that I forgot to unmute my mic. But I'm saying that I have my notepad ready. I need to take notes because this is going to be some good information that we share here tonight.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
All right. So please, folks, and please, I see the numbers going up right now, but I just want you to please share this link with your family and friends. I know some people don't have Facebook, so we're live on YouTube as well. So go ahead and do that. So without further ado, I'm just going to allow our guests just to introduce themselves. They'll give us their name, their position, and where they're from. We're going to start with you, Darcy.
Hi. So thank you for having us. And, I think this is a really important topic that I'm grateful to be having. We're grateful to be having with you because at the end of the day, financial literacy is something we all need more of in our families, and we need to be having more of these kinds of conversations as Bahamians. So my name is D'Arcy Ramming Jr., and the other speaker here is Mr. Winston Roll, and we're both from ArawakX. So I'm one of the co-founders of ArawakX and the Chief Technology Officer, and Mr. Winston Roll is our chief of equities. So he deals with the businesses that get listed on the platform. I deal with the technology. I just make sure that the computers work. And so it's a pleasure to be speaking with you. A little bit about my background. I'm an engineer and a lawyer. And we came to this, to ArawakX. We're really super grateful that Mr. Winston.
Did Darcy just freeze, or is it just
the Bahamas and the average Bahamian has access to be able to invest in companies, new and innovative companies. I'm the young exec at part of ArawakX. Mr. Winston Roll is a storied business career as an operator, as well as he was the former head of the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce. He did a lot of work with the SBDC. So he's been I don't know, you call it slaving away at trying to make the business environment better for Bahamians to do business. And so I'm really happy to be working with him, and I view him as a mentor. And so we're really happy to be working ArawakX's mission of moving people from consumers to owners. So
Awesome.
Thank you again.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Mr. Rule.
Well, thank you for this wonderful opportunity. It's always good to be able to speak to the general public, and especially on such an important topic. When one of our mandates is that we want to make financial services as inclusive as we possibly can for every Bahamian. And right now, there's only a certain sector of the Bahamian population that actually actively invest and sees any kind of a return from that investment. And so our role when we bring companies to the platform to be listed, one of the key things that we look at is, can these companies provide a return for the grandmother who may have invested $25 in this company, who hopes that someday that $25 is going to appreciate to $100 or $1,000 or $10,000. And even if she can't benefit from it, maybe her kids or her grandkids can. So that's what we look at. We look at companies that can give people that sort of a return.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we're just going to go into a few questions, and I'm going to throw out this first question either of you can answer. Of course, we are new to ArawakX. We don't know anything about ArawakX, and I'm sure our Church of God of Prophecy audience would love to know more about you. What is ArawakX exactly, and how long have you been in existence?
Okay, Darcy seems to be freezing, so I'll take the lead on that.
Okay.
ArawakX is actually a fully licensed stock exchange in the Bahamas. So we have the same licenses as BISX does. We have a full marketplace license and a full clearing license. It just so happens that the first product that we're offering is a crowdfunding platform. But we will be bringing new products to the future pretty soon, in fact, that other persons would be interested in. So we are a fully licensed stock exchange, and we always say that we are an international company operating in the Bahamas because everything that we do looks at ArawakX being a regional and international company, not just a Bahamian company, but based on our ethos, it was important for us to allow Bahamian investors, Bahamian companies to be the first persons to benefit from our platform before we take it out to the wider world.
That's awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm hoping that Darcy can get back on in a few minutes. Yeah, look like he dropped out. I don't know if he's having some internet issues, but we'll just proceed. Let me go on to the next question, and hopefully when he gets back on, he can chime in as well. Briefly tell us, what are the key benefits of investing with ArawakX?
Well, as I said, the companies that we bring to the platform for persons to invest in are companies that we see can grow tenfold. And we have a mantra that we use. We said the companies that we look for have to qualify based on two acronyms primarily. And the acronyms are TEAM and MAGIC. So it's the team that delivers magic. The TEAM acronym stands for the executive advisors and management. So we want to make sure that the companies have a strong nucleus of people that are driving the company. Persons aren't going to invest in a company that's driven only by one person and have the possibility that something could happen to that one person and all their dreams and hopes of getting a return dies with that person. And then the magic means that the company has to have a market. The market has to be accessible to them because I may have the best product in the world for the Chinese, but if I can't sell it to the Chinese, I might as well just not have the product. They have to represent the opportunity to grow at least 10 times because investors are putting their money in now with the hope of the company growing and giving them not only dividends, but their investment having additional appreciating in value over time. They have to be doing something innovative, which is the I in the magic. And when we say innovative, it's not necessarily technology, but what are you doing that's going to disrupt the status quo? What are you doing that's different than anybody else out there is doing? And then, of course, the C is corporate governance. And corporate governance is very big for us because as most Bahamians know, this is my company, I run it the way I want, and nobody could tell me how to do it and what to do and when to do. But when you're now talking about going out to the public and getting them to put money into your business, you have to be accountable. There are rules and guidelines that you have to adhere by. There's reporting requirements, and you have to keep your shareholders engaged and let them know what's going on with the company.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. I don't know, Mr. Darcy, I don't know if you wanted to chime in on that. I was just asking him to tell us briefly about some of the benefits of investing in ArawakX.
Yes. So I know I dived out a little bit. If I'm repetitive, please forgive me. So it's important to understand kind of like how America and American wealth is built. Their wealth is built because they largely own the businesses that exist in their society. Because at the end of the day, businesses are where, obviously where customers are spending their money, but also where the average person owns shares in the companies that are adding that value. And so what ArawakX does is it's really just a facilitator for you to invest in those companies that are doing new and innovative things in the society. And then as the company grows, that grows your wealth. So basically what you're doing as an investor is you're seeing businesses that come across ArawakX, and you're saying, I believe that these people can grow my money for me. And so you're putting that into a structured environment where you have, if the company works, you have a reasonable chance of seeing a return. Because obviously investing is risky. You can't promise that you'll see a return. But the corporate governance, that team that delivers magic, is kind of how a professional looks at a business and says, you know, it ticks all of these boxes. I believe in the company. I believe in the team. Let me take a chance with this guy or this group of people, and that's really the secret to growing wealth.
This is good, and we only on question two. This is already amazing. So DRC, I'm gonna target you because you've declared that you are the young co-founder. So for someone who is 20s, 30s, they're the average younger persons, right, that are making money to invest to an extent. How can they even begin their journey to invest with ArawakX? So what are some of the requirements that I would need? Let's talk about, for me, for my age bracket. I'm a little bit of a late bloomer. So I have a line item on my budget that I call the sins of my 20s, the financial sins of my 20s. So I made some not so great decisions in my 20s. So how do I now in my 30s begin a journey, with investment?
So the first thing is, of course, to recognize that what you just said, which is, hey, I have to make some active decisions to change my financial position. The reality is I think your 20s are that period of your life where you believe you're invincible. And the reality is that no one is coming to save you. Your mummy's not coming to save you. Your mummy's going to make sure you're fed, but she's really not coming to save you. Even if you were born into a really wealthy family, what your family has for you is not enough, no matter how much it is, right? So you have to make an active choice to invest and to grow your own wealth and to take your own destiny into your own hands. So once you've done that mentally, what ArawakX does is it provides we're trying to make a really intuitive, easy way for people to access it. So you can go to ArawakX.com. You can sign up in as little as 7 minutes. You just need 2 forms of ID, your NIB card, and either a passport or your driver's license or any other form of ID. So we can, because what it is that you are investing is you are buying an asset. And so we have to register that asset properly. And so that's why we need that level of documentation. The next thing is to educate yourself on what it is that you're buying. And so that takes time. We're trying to, through courses like this, talks like this, educate as many people as possible as to what it is that you're buying. What you're buying is ownership in a company. And like all assets, there's certain peculiarities, I would say. So like land has certain, like a lot of people are, when they think investment is, I'm going to buy into a duplex, right? Or a triplex or something. So people are pretty familiar with that. That's the traditional one. You buy some units and you collect rental income. There are risks involved with it. And likewise with companies, there are certain peculiarities. One peculiarity is that what you're buying is an ownership stake. Each share is the equivalent of kind of like a vote. You have a vote in the say. Now, as the minority, you don't necessarily get to control the direction of the company, but you are entitled to certain rights associated with it. One of those rights is the one that we like, is dividends, which is you have a right to the profits when they get divided back up. And so, you should really take a look at the dividend policy of a company. and to make up your mind whether or not this is an investment that makes sense for you. Another right is as the value of the company grows, your share value appreciates. That's what's called a capital gain. Your capital that you invested hopefully gains in value. And then, of course, if you have a life event, say, like, for example, a lot of people use buying stocks as a savings vehicle to then go ahead and say you want to buy a house. So you invest in a company at 10 times, and now you have some money to put a down payment on a house. So really what we are trying to do here is build a financial tool for investors to then go and live the kind of life that they want, doing the kind of planning, like you were saying, Joulle, to live the kind of life that they want. And so that's really what we're here to do. We're a tool for you as the investor to be able to build and live the kind of financial life that you want.
Okay, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So I don't need to have $1 million to make my first investment. I don't need to have six figures, because a lot of times persons feel like, that's way above my head. I have to have 500,000 or 5,000, whatever it is, saved up before I can even start the investment process. So what age would you say is a good age to start investing? I mean, today would work, right? But let's say I could redo my 20s, or someone's listening who may still be in their 20s, Well, what age would you recommend for the start of investments? Either of you.
10 years ago, always. I mean, it's always, I mean, like the financially educated get their kids involved really super early, because it's a skill and something that you can always start earlier. But the beautiful thing is, God gives us life, and He gave us today, so you can always start today, because the reality is the sooner you start, the sooner you get to see the benefits of it. And so I would say yesterday, but it's even if you're 65 years old, you still have an opportunity to invest. Your investment might be a little bit different, but you and when I say different, you might want to take fewer risks, because your working age is not necessarily you don't have as much of a time frame to earn. But you should always be thinking about investing pretty much until frankly until as long as you are how do I say this? As long as you are alive, you're going to have to deal with money problems. So you want to put yourself in the best position you can to deal with those money problems, no matter how old you are.
I just want to add to that too. A lot of it has to do with what is your purpose for investing. We're finding that there are quite a number of older persons that are investing on ArawakX, and they're investing not necessarily for themselves, but for their kids and grandkids. They may state right there that they're putting this in trust, or they're putting them down as a beneficial owner, because they want to help put some sound footing in place for the ones that have come behind them. So it all depends on what your objective is. And of course, knowing what your objective is also has an effect on what your risk appetite is. How much are you prepared to put on the side to invest? But, I always say that people find time and money to do the things that are important to them.
Correct.
And so if it's important to you, no matter what age you are, you're going to find the time to do it. And I can give you an example. When I started working and didn't have a chick nor a child or nothing to worry about, but I knew that at someday I would have children. I put aside a portion of my salary as a college fund for the child that I didn't even have yet, who fortunately now is in grad school. So thank God for that. But you have to think about those things at a young age, and you wouldn't believe that how little you will miss that money that you put aside, because you've already trained yourself as a habit to do so.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. This is some awesome information, Joelle. You agree?
I tell you, I excited now. I'm trying to work on my budget. How am I gonna squeeze something out to start investing? I gotta make
Yeah.
it make sense.
One less pair of shoes.
Oh Lord.
Let's go with that.
I hit the sore point. Sorry.
How did you even know I was a shoeless person? You have a discerning spirit. I gotta watch out for you.
Lord, Lord of mercy. All right. So I just want to move on to this other question. We live in the Bahamas, and especially when you're talking to government workers, it seems like, and this is Christmas time, everything is salary deduction, salary deduction, salary deduction. Some people, when they get their salary slip, Joel, ain't nothing on it, because they got about 10 people taking money out of their salary. So my question to either one of you, what would be your advice to someone who believes that they have nothing left out of their
Mhm.
salary to invest in anything meaningful? How can they proceed with this?
I'll say that it is a habit that has to be conscious and invest. So spending is easy. Like the whole world is designed for you to spend your money, right? You do you go walk through Walmart and they're really good at prying that money out of your pocket. Well, you have to, just like tithing, you have to make a conscious decision that if this is what you want in the future, you have to lay the groundwork for it. And so it's no matter how small, what we've done at ArawakX is lower the barriers so that, anyone, even if you're like a high school student, can afford to buy something. And it's really that process of starting somewhere. Over time, it builds and builds and builds. That's the power of compound interest. Is that you start small, and then one day, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, sometimes even a generation from now, there is enough money built into that company that all of a sudden you're looking around and there's $100,000 there, and that's meaningful money. And so it's kind of how do I say, it's people wonder why the rich keep getting richer. It's because they have that habit ingrained into themselves and to their families, so that the next generation is always better off because they could take the resources of the last generation and add to them. And so wherever you are on the spectrum of wealth, you have to build the foundation. It's like building a skyscraper. You know how like skyscrapers, if you've ever been to like New York City and you see one being built, they kind of go down deep to build this really strong foundation before they go up. It's the same thing with our financial lives. We have to sometimes dig deep a little bit to go up, and so you have to make that decision. And there is sacrifice involved. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's magic. It's not magic. It's hard work. You work hard for your money, and you have to make a conscious decision to invest that in the future, whether it's your future or your children's futures.
Antoine, to go directly to your point, though, if I remember correctly, those same civil servants that you're talking about, they just got a nice little tidy sum
Oh,
that
did
goes
they?
that goes back 5 or 6 months.
Oh,
So first of all, if it went back 5 or 6 months, and then every month thereon, there's going to be an increment of there's going to be a different than what they're getting now. So the two things is, first, take that 6 months that you didn't have and invest that somewhere.
yes.
And then that increment that you got from 1 to 2, use that other one and invest that somewhere and stay on your one.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hope some government workers are watching, and those who will watch after this show is over today. Yeah, that's some very good advice there. We have a question coming in online from Dr. Gandhi Thompson. I'm going to put it up on the screen so both of you
Mm-hmm.
can see it, and either one of you can take that question. What advice would you give to persons concerned that the recession is looming?
So the beautiful thing about capitalism is that somebody is always making money. So you have to. So like, for example, right now, I'm sure people are talking about how tech is going kind of through this downturn in the United States. Well, not every place in the U.S. economy is going down. There are parts of it that are going up. So you can, one of the things that a tool like ArawakX is good for is there's always somebody that is recognized an opportunity. So invest in that opportunity at that time. And then over time, the opportunities will shift as the economy shifts. There's always, even if we go into a recession, there's always going to be someone that's making a lot of money. So what ArawakX is you can lend your money to that person at that time. So I would say that.
The other thing I would say too is that it's important to build a diversified portfolio. So you may like food, but you don't want to only invest in food related products because food may come and food may go. But if you have a diverse product portfolio, as one of your investments may not be giving you the return that you want, the other one will. And so your net is still a positive net effect. So it's about spreading your risk and being a bit more diverse in your investments.
That's great. And to add to that, Vince, it's like I say, somebody is always making money. So, if you line up 10 businessmen, okay, 3 might not be making it this year, 3 going to be making it big this year, 5 going to be holding steady. Overall, you're in a much better position than if you didn't play the game at all.
My God, if I were another speaker, I would say this is powerful. This is powerful information. Right? This is good. And while DRC was speaking earlier, I remembered a book that I read, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
That's
so
right.
those of you that have not read that, this is a shameless plug. I do not know Robert Kiyosaki or however you pronounce his name. I don't know him, but I know that book holds a wealth of information, right?
It does.
The first lesson, if not the first lesson, is to make sure that money is working for you. We
That's
don't
right.
work for money, right? I had a VP, I still call him my boss to this day. That was a book that he had referred to me. He is a certified public accountant. I might be a chartered accountant anyway. It's a good read. Please, y'all, let the money work for you while you are sleeping. That is the goal in this life. Okay. Now,
it's a great book.
Something happening. Pardon?
Yeah, I said that's a great book. It's a foundational book for thinking about money.
Yeah, see, it's a great place to start. Instead of watching Netflix, go invest in yourself this Christmas. That book costs $7.68 on Amazon. I looked it up, and they have overnight shipping if you have Prime. Listen,
you could also find it at Logos, most bookstores. That's how essential it is.
Yeah, but see, if it on Amazon, they could just click and order. If you have a Kindle, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I think they have it for teens as well. Educate your children while let them get the information that you're just getting now. They'll be a better version of you, as they progress through life. Because life is lifing, all right? It's lifing, and so you want them to have the tools and resources that could help them through life.
Yep, and to add to what you're saying, life is hard. Like let's not sugarcoat it. Like you have to make decisions that are not easy decisions, and nobody's saying that they're easy. Anyone who says that it's easy is trying to oversell you, because at the end of the day, this is work, and people work hard for their money. I work hard for my money. I'm sure you guys work hard for your money. So we need to put it in places that is also going to work hard for you.
Yeah, agreed. You don't work hard for money to throw it away. Let's invest it. Plant it. So we have another question coming from Dr. Thompson.
Great question.
Some Christians may think investing in stocks is like gambling. Do you agree or disagree?
So in one sense, it is. You are taking a risk. But gambling is a risk that is kind of like pure odds. When you're investing, especially when you're investing in companies, you are investing in the future that this group of people can take your money and work that money to make a return. So are you taking a risk? Yes. are you gambling on your future, to use the word lightly? Yes. But what societies have found over time, these capitalistic systems that we kind of live in, is that there are going to be people that are going to be making it. Now, I know when people play numbers, they're betting 800 to 1. I don't know what the odds are of winning, but when you hit the jackpot, when you number fall, I guess is what they say. But it's so investing is lower odds, but when it's done right, it has a higher chance of you seeing some sort of return,
and
that's
more
kind of
sustainable.
And it's more sustainable, and that's kind of what ArawakX does. Wince's department is they. Why don't you talk a little bit about the betting process?
I was just going to say.
What it is, because it's not gambling. You're taking a calculated risk.
If it was gambling, then I would have to take serious offense, because that means I'm not doing my job. But we take companies through a very rigorous process in understanding who they are, what they're representing, what makes them unique, how they plan to grow, what expertise, past performance, etc. have they proven that they could say, yes, we're going to grow these numbers. We don't just take numbers out of a hat that they give us. It's not uncommon. I can tell you this both from now on, from my SPDC days, for somebody who's just starting a business, going to make $1 million in the first year, and we got to set them back and temper them and say, okay, now we love dreaming, but now let's support that dream with some statistics and facts that people can dig into. And that's why when you look at the campaign page on our platform, we put all that information there for you to look at. So it's not gambling. You're digesting the information that's there, and you're making an informed decision that, based on what I've read, this company, I like what they're doing. The industry seems to have the growth opportunity. The team looks like the right team to make it happen. The numbers are realistic that they can grow and they can give me a return for my investment. And so, yeah, I'm prepared. I'm taking a calculated risk with this company. It's definitely not a let me buy a number and hope for the best kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not a roll of the dice. Well, maybe that's it. It's not a it's not. It's the odds are, when see what makes gambling different than investing in quality companies is that one is pure chance. The other is a calculated risk that you don't need to really get right that often to still be ahead. Like when you're playing a number, and by the way, I'm not making a judgment on gambling. If you do that for fun, that's fine, but that's not financial planning. 1 in 800 odds means you have to play 800 times to win, which is really, really hard to win. What they found is that even if you're 30% right in investing, you are ahead from where you started, because that's the odds are better for companies, because we're talking about how to plan for your future. So
yeah. I think the other thing too is it's not just a matter of the vetting that we do and then putting the information out there for you to review yourself. We set up sessions where you get to have a session with these folks. So you get to ask them the tough questions. You get to ask them, how are you going to accomplish what you're doing? So you need to leave convinced that this is where I want to put my money. We're not here to convince you. That's not our job. Our job is to give you the opportunity and to get the persons who need the money the opportunity to meet with persons who may be prepared to invest with them. We can't recommend anything. We can't recommend who you should invest in. That goes against the Securities Commission's rules for crowdfunding. But we are the medium that bring the investor and the issuers together and give you the opportunity to chat with these people, to understand what they're doing, and to convince yourself that, yes, this is something I want to do.
Awesome. We have another question from the audience. And it says, what are some safer, quote unquote, or less risky kinds of investments that persons can choose?
But it's interesting because in most cases, the safest investment is always government bonds. right? Because as we joke around the office, if you invest in government bonds, especially if it's giving you a guaranteed rate of return, if the government can't pay its bill to you to those bonds, then we're all in trouble anyhow, right? Um, so obviously, any kind of government bonds is always going to be probably the safer form of investing, but it also comes at a fixed rate of return. So
Yeah.
you know that a government bond, they may give you 3, they may give you 5, they may give you 6%. But when you invest in a company, and especially a high growth type company, that investment can tenfold, 20-fold, 100-fold on you, and so your return is a lot greater.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So if you think of government bonds, so the general rule of thumb is you should invest, and this is something people should write down, is you should invest in equities, 100 minus your age. So if your portfolio is 100% is your portfolio, as you get older, you invest less in riskier stuff, more in government bonds. So I'm 32 years old, so I should be investing 32% of my portfolio in government bonds, and 68% in equities. And as I get older, I kind of step it down to a little bit more safer stuff. 100 minus your age. That's right. And what ends up happening over time is you are able to have risk, expose yourself to certain risk while you're young, because if something happens, you have time to make it up. And then as you get older, you kind of tone down that risk. And then when you're in your old age and you're no longer working, you now have that fixed income kind of guaranteed money coming in. And so we advise that people do a nice blend of it. And of course, you should have a financial advisor that kind of walks you through it. But that's the general rule of thumb.
This is good. This is good information. And those were very great questions as well.
Really great questions.
Yes.
Now, I have a question that, I don't know, it may be a little bit controversial, a little bit borderline, especially after I saw a very popular Bahamian singing a song about, some contributions that were received, I don't want to be shady, but so FTX, right? The whole FTX situation. What is your take on FTX and the persons, the Bahamian persons or persons on the whole that may have invested funds into it? What's your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
So there are different asset classes, and some of them are less risky than others. So government bonds would be the safest type of investment. Then something like real estate and real estate derived products are a little bit they're not completely safe, because obviously things are not guaranteed, but they're a little bit riskier than government bonds. But you're not going to make $1 billion off of a real estate, generally speaking. Then you have equities. Equities are kind of like companies. They're a little riskier than real estate, but safer than something like crypto. Crypto is in that speculative alternative investment kind of space. So I'm not going to say that people shouldn't have exposure to them. Generally speaking, though, when you're playing in high risk kind of investments, you should really know what you're doing, because you can make a lot of money. You could lose all your money. You could do that with any kind of investment, but especially so with the crypto. So I want to put that in context before what I say next. FTX, obviously the world is still analyzing what really happened there. But I will say that that blew up, and it's because it's in that riskier space it blew up. Whether or not there's something went wrong with the operators of that thing, that's for the courts and the police and things to kind of decide. ArawakX is in no way, shape, or form affiliated with FTX. We're dealing with a completely different asset class. But but it's a great question. The one good thing I will say that came out of this, no matter what, is that people are talking about financial literacy and getting themselves educated as to what this stuff really means. That, and it's a great story. All the personalities involved, etc. I mean, there's a lot of drama going on there. I won't comment too much on that, but that's beyond the scope. Those are conversation over a beer.
Oh boy, that sounds very deep.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they make a Netflix documentary on it.
I wouldn't be surprised either.
Yeah, that's there's a lot of drama going on there. But I will say, in terms of the context of our conversation, financial literacy, alternative investments, highly speculative. You can make a lot of money, you can lose a lot of money. That's not something you should be putting your old age money into. You should be putting your old age money into safer, more traditional assets, meaning bonds, real estate, stocks and companies. That's the traditional mindset. Wince, you have anything to add to that?
I don't want to touch FTX. I don't want to touch FTX. I just wanted to say, though,
I don't want to mix up. I see the conversation. There's all kinds of drama there. Let me just say that.
Yeah. I also want to say too that one of the reasons too why you want to invest in companies and people have a concern that but businesses go out of business every day. If you take a look at the majority of businesses that get started in the Bahamas, I would say greater than 80% of them get started undercapitalized. And so, the main source, first of all, it's bootstrapping, meaning you're working on a job and you take in whatever you can to put into that business to get it started. Then you go to some family and friends and you get them to buy into it, and they may give you a couple of dollars to go to it. And then you're to the point where you figure, you know what, let me go to the bank and get a loan. Now, when you go to the bank to get a loan, obviously the bank is going to give you a loan based on what you can collateralize. And so if your business isn't a heavy asset type business, you're going to find that your operating cost isn't going to get funded. And so what most people do is they take the bank money and try to figure a way to manage through that process, which is a struggle for most businesses. What we find with businesses coming to us, they are so used to that mindset that when they sit down and we sit with them and we look at what they're looking to raise, we have to retrain their thought process. No, we're not a bank. You don't need 100,000 because that's what you have in property that you can collateralize. What does the business need to be successful? If you're starting X business and you need to invest in technology, you can't invest in some of the technology to be successful. You need to be able to invest in all of the technology to be successful. If you need people, you need to be able to hire the right people and to pay those people. So when you go to the crowd, you're not going to the crowd to ask for the money to get you moving. You're going to the crowd to ask for the money to make you successful, because the business person wants to make a profit. They want to make a profit because they want to write themselves a dividend check. Well, the good part about it is when they write themselves a dividend check, if you're a shareholder, they can't write a check without writing you a check too. Mm-hmm. And so everybody wins as a result of that arrangement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so what we're specialists at is kind of what's called patient money. So as the investor, you have to be comfortable that this business person is going to take 2 to 3 years, generally speaking, to work that money in their business so that you could see a return. Anyone who has a bank loan or has been around a bank knows you have to start paying that money back almost immediately. Well, business doesn't really work like that. Sometimes it takes time for the guy to figure out how to work the idea, figure out how to open up the new restaurant and get customers in the door, etc. And so you as the investor have to be prepared to give that business person some time and some space to work that money so that they can work it into a return. So like I said, this is not gambling, but you're taking a chance on that business and that team to really work that business and turn it over. Because we all know successful Bahamian businesses that had the space and the time to figure things out, and now are insanely successful. So that's really what we're trying to hope to recreate with all of our businesses that come across the platform.
Wonderful, wonderful. This is really, really some great information. And I see that we have quite a few people watching on Facebook and YouTube. Please continue to share this link with your family and friends. We're coming down almost to the end of our show, Joelle. And I really hate to cut it because I'm sure we may even need to do a part 2 of this at some point.
I agree.
I agree. Yeah. All right. But again, I'm going to throw out another question, and both of you may have an answer to this, or just one of you. What's in the immediate future for ArawakX? Anybody?
You want to take a shot?
Okay.
Wins? Oh, I think he might have frozen.
Yeah.
I think he might have frozen. So I'll hop in. So a lot more companies. We have a lot more different industries coming on board. One of the things that we've wanted to do with ArawakX from the beginning is people see opportunity differently. And they see it by industry. So people can say, I'm really into restaurants. So they see that. I'm really into, like, natural gas is up right now. I'm really into, like, commodities. Everybody needs cooking gas. I see that opportunity. Some people are into technology. They see that opportunity. Some people are into the opportunity of the creative, the orange economy. So what we're trying to do with the platform is to create this nice supermarket where you can walk in and you can find the ingredients that make sense to you as an investor. So that's what we're trying to do. So we're trying to get as many different types of companies out there as possible, so that you as the investor can say, you know what, that one makes sense to me. No, I don't like that one, because it is your money. So you should be able to pick and choose where you place that money. And that's all we're trying to do.
I just want to expand on that by saying that within the first quarter of next year, you're going to also see some companies that are not from the Bahamas. So there are companies that are operating outside of the Bahamas that Bahamians can now invest in. And of course, our objective is also to spread our footprint throughout the region as well.
Awesome. I see another question coming in, and that was going to be my closing statement. But Don Colley is asking, how can we find out more information about ArawakX? I think you might have talked about this earlier, Mr. Raming, but just tell us again, like some contact information, website information, etc.
So everything can be found on ArawakX.com. Sign up for an account, because you need an account before you can buy shares. It is free to sign up for an account. How we make our money is we make our money when the company is successful. We get a fee from the company. You as the investor don't pay any fees. So that's really important to us. We wanted to do that because we know that certain historically the barriers to entry sometimes are the fees, and we didn't want any barriers to entry in that way. What we want the average person to be able to be walking around here saying, I own shares in that business over there because I believe in what they're trying to do. And so that's what we did. So ArawakX.com, you can go on the website. It really does take 7 minutes to sign up. We're hyper, we're listening to people. We're trying to make it super, super simple. The purpose of technology is not for technology's sake. The purpose of technology is to make our lives easier. And that's what we're trying to live as ArawakX.
Awesome. Well, thank you all once again for talking with Joelle and myself. And I'm sure that everybody who is watching on YouTube and Facebook is writing this information down. And I'm sure they're going to scroll back probably later on tonight or tomorrow to see what's happening. Go ahead, Joelle.
Antoine, sorry, I just want to put them on the spot.
Go ahead.
To give advice to someone who is watching right now. what word of advice, encouragement, nuggets do you want to leave? Both of you. You could do
Well,
any money to see who goes first.
well, I think DJ touched on it earlier. You have to start because procrastination is the devil's best friend. You keep procrastinating until nothing happens, and then you realize that, oh, I should have done that 10 years ago. And if you're not comfortable with what you're doing yet, start small, but start. And at least you see, because guess what? The first time you put down your dollar to invest, you're gonna start paying more attention to what's going on. If you're just watching from the sidelines, you're never going to be concerned or what's happening. But if you put down that first dollar, you're going to be watching that to see how and when am I going to get a return on that.
Yep.
And so put down the first dollar. And then once you see how you're going to get a return on it, then you're going to say, oh, that's how it works. So let me take another $5 instead of buying that new pair of shoes. Sorry. Let me put that investment someplace else and get something else for that.
Mm-hmm.
So get started. That's the first thing.
Absolutely. To reiterate, it's the game of owning companies was once upon a time a thing only the wealthy could do, and that mindset shift in owning something, like people don't really understand what it's like. Once you own something, some tangible, some asset, you all of a sudden you get to understand it in a way. Like I don't know if I'm sure you guys, everybody here is BAME, and so people know when people own property, they all of a sudden they know what the heck is going on with that property. It's the same with companies. Once you start investing in companies, you're going to know how companies work, how they did, because it's something that you own. So we want to encourage people. We've really tried really, really hard consciously to lower the barriers to entry so you can get into learning and understanding how companies work, because it really is traditionally where wealth is created. And so once you understand that, you're just going to get better and better as time goes on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, Benjamin Franklin said that an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. So we definitely want to thank you all for sharing this knowledge with us today. And as I started to say earlier, I'm sure that those who are watching are going to go back, rewind, and fast forward to that point that they really, really need to hear. So even after this show is finished, I encourage all of our viewers on YouTube and Facebook just to share this link with your family and friends. We want to thank Mr. Raming and Mr. Wool for joining us today on Let's Talk. And we hope that you all can come back on again in the future. Just let us know. Let us know whenever you guys are ready. And he already would have given you the information on how you can contact them. Mr. Raming or Mr. Wool, I don't know if you guys want to just type it again in the chat, just so that persons can see it. You can do it on the Facebook chat or the YouTube chat, just so that they can see it when they scroll back. But thank you again for joining us here on Let's Talk COGOP Bahamas. Joelle, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
Nope, this is good stuff, and I can't wait to go and dive into this website.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you all for joining us. Thank you to everyone that has been watching. Go ahead. Sorry.
Share on the main comments.
Yeah, they can type it.
I put in the private chat. My apologies.
Yeah, put it in the main comments.
The main comments.
And that will go to YouTube and Facebook. All right. You got it?
It's not allowing me to type it in, but I'm sure our good colleague there, Mr. Todd, will do that for us.
Yeah, if you actually go to the actual Facebook page, or you can type it in there as well. You could even do it after the show.
Okay, great.
All right, thank you, Donnie, and all of the others that have been chiming in online. Thank you for those very good questions. Thank you.
So one thing I think we glossed over. We are regulated by the Securities Commission of the Bahamas to do this business.
Oh, that is important.
We're talking about this stuff. We have regulators. We have people that we're accountable to. We have certain standards that we have to live by. Please, as you understand and you start dealing with investments, only deal with regulated professionals. There's a lot of fishy stuff going on. This is the internet, but we exist in a regulated environment.
Yeah. And Ian, I saw your comment about no bear, okay?
Yeah, well, thank you all. Thank you all again for joining
Our
us.
pleasure.
Thank you. It's really been a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
This information, we can't pay for this
No, we
information.
can't afford to. We
you
really
know,
can't.
but
It's a
thank
wealth
you.
of knowledge.
And I'm sure y'all are going to be getting some calls from some of our folks on how they can begin this journey.
Welcome it. We welcome it.
Well, God bless you all and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.